Hey everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. Hey, so we're going to talk It, the movie It. Spoilers discussion. I'm going to talk about this because I saw the movie 3 days ago. I went to my cousin's place up in Montana. She turned 40, the big 40. And I decided, hey, what better way than to go see a movie that took place in the 80s when she was young? And I can go, hey, remember when you used to own that? Now you're old, you don't own it? And she didn't appreciate it, so that's how I... But she got scared and forgot all about the shit I said. So to help join in on that discussion will be Mike, Magic Mike. Mike, what you doing, dude?
I'm getting ready to talk about this badass movie.
The good finger. So so people know this is just a time when I talk about fucking things I get to be a fan of, right? I'm not talking about things as an artist. So if you go, Rob, you didn't like it, your fucking art sucks. Like, that's not what I'm doing here. I need to preface that because some people, I understand my art sucks, but that's nothing to do with this movie.
Jesus Christ.
That's a whole nother discussion. I live with this every day, folks. So we're just getting that out in the open. Anyhow, free for all, movie spoilers discussion. If you haven't already seen it, then bail the fuck out, come back later, or don't, whatever. Mike, overall thoughts on the movie? Anything you want to say? Kick it off.
So I read the book originally when I was 13. I rewatched the miniseries that was 4 hours long from 1990. A couple days, I think it was Thursday. I saw the movie on Saturday, which, if none of you know me, I don't go to opening weekends. I don't like to pay for movies, but I took a special engagement to do this. And I showed up an hour and a half early just so I could have decent seats. And I was very, very happy with the movie they produced, the half of movie they produced, because we've only gotten the kids' side so far. But I was very, very, very pleased with it.
Awesome. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie greatly. I feel that it was a fairly good representation of the 80s. It's a period piece. Takes place in the 80s, the film. I have never read the book. Not a big Stephen King book guy, As a kid, just horror novels weren't my thing. More like in a science fiction and fantasy, like Star Wars and stuff. So
I had an uncle that had a Stephen King collection. So, I was like, all right, well, you like these books, so I should like them too, because I was a kid.
And when I was, in the 4th or 5th grades, I think the book came out around 86. So I was around in the 4th or 5th grade by the time I became aware of it. It just, when people describe it to me, I'm like, kind of sounds like Freddy, kind of gets you when you're scared, right? And so...
Feeds on fear.
Yeah, I just already had Freddy, so at the time, so I didn't really get into it. Did see the TV movie, thought it was ridiculously stupid. I did.
But it was Tim Curry though.
Okay, it was Tim Curry, and I like some bad Tim Curry acting. To prove a point, have you ever seen Harriet the Worst Witch?
Is that the one where he has the giant cape?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I have seen Harriet the Worst Witch.
You used to play on HBO every Halloween in the 80s, and that is some horrible acting.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's
magnificent, So he's always awesome in anything he does. I could not take the dude from Night Court seriously.
Harry Anderson.
Harry Anderson, who was always like a poor man's Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, it was tough. Rewatching everything, especially Seth Green played the young version of him. So you have a massive not only visual difference but humor difference. They're just two completely different actors. Because in the 90s, you didn't care. You got a child actor and an adult actor for the same character, and regardless of whether they looked the same or sounded the same or anything, none of that mattered in the early 90s. And it is a huge representation of that. So yeah, the kid that you meet, like if you watch the '90s miniseries, the kid that you meet, that's the jokester, and then you have Harry Anderson as the adult version. It completely throws you off.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, he always just seemed like a cross between like a Judge Reinhold and the dad from Alf.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, basically. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
But I went into this having seen Stranger Things. Now, for those who don't know, the Duffer Brothers, the Duffer Brothers wrote and directed, created the TV series Stranger Things. They were trying to make an It movie, and as I understand it, because I didn't bother to do any research on this, but as I understand it, over the year or two following the whole project, is they wanted to make it with the kids. And the studio, New Line Warner's, it's New Line, but technically Warner Brothers, because they own New Line, said no ixnay on the kids getting murdered. Like, like we don't want kids being
There,
tortured.
yeah, there's also some other stuff in the books that they have not put in the miniseries
Yeah,
or
there's
in
an
anything.
orgy
Yeah,
scene and everything
yeah,
else.
there's stuff there they're just not going to touch.
Even Stephen King was like, "Yeah, it was a different time when I wrote that." So whatever. But they didn't want kids at all, which really I don't see how you make anything without starting with kids and then showing them as like that's the fucking story. Without that,
Well,
what's the point?
yeah, like that's. I mean, it's like watching it was like watching Stand by Me again. Where you're just like, dude, yeah, kids. It's like a bunch of kids get together and do kid stuff and like things happen and shit. But like you can relate to being a child again and having adventures and weird shit happening.
And so the
Like,
Duffer Brothers quit the project over this whole
okay.
contention. And then not like they took their idea straight to Netflix, just their agent happened to be in a meeting with Netflix, and then one of the things that they came up with was their answer to it was that they made up their own version of this idea, right? It was in a pile of shit they threw across the table. They slid it across the table, and it just happened to pick up. They picked up on it. I guess it was filling some. They had some algorithm. Netflix had some algorithm for what what content will work on their platform. And yeah, I read this whole thing on they have some fucking algorithm that says this is the thing that people are looking for, the thing the like what our audience is interested in, but
If
what
you're
we're
gonna
not
sell,
making.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the
Wow.
I know I figured you'd be a guy to answer like how do you even do that?
I there's a way, but I
Magic.
that's so
So
contrived. Yeah, that's crazy.
they made Stranger Things and so Stranger Things comes out. It's super successful, right? I mean, it's on every fucking web page, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's everywhere to the point where I'm like, I gotta go fucking watch the Stranger Things. Holy shit, it's fucking awesome. And then it got made with the kids as a cat. It's fucking weird, right? So they try to make it. Studio doesn't want
If
kids.
Stranger Things hadn't been successful, they wouldn't have made it.
They made their own
I
fan
guarantee
version of
you.
it with the kids.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
becomes
And then
successful, and then
and then
it.
used one of them in it.
Yeah, okay, hold on. That's what I'm trying to. So then they get to make it with the kids, and then they get the Stranger Things kid in the movie. It fucking I don't know, man. Like
And he's the comic relief.
it's like a well, it is great that he didn't play the same character because he's the heart and soul character of
Yeah.
Stranger Things, and in this one he's Mouth from Goonies.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
He's the Corey Feldman. I mean, easily would have been. I mean, Corey Feldman was in Stand by Me, so easily, and he played the loudmouth wise ass with
Yeah, yeah.
glasses. So if this movie had been made, the exact same movie, and had access to kids from the '80s, that would have been Corey Feldman without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh man. God, that'd be great. Have like be like 2017, but have a kid Corey Feldman in a
You know,
movie.
if we just allowed Jim Cameron and Lucasfilm to just keep doing what they're doing, eventually we'll have that option. Like, just trust me.
You want a kid Corey Feldman? Give me 2 years.
You'll be like John Goodman. I'll get you a toe. I'll get you a Corey
Yeah.
Feldman. You want a mouth? I'll get you a mouth.
Yeah, I got
Which
got a
Corey you
mouth
want?
for you.
You want a
Yeah.
Haim? You want a Feldman? Which one do you want? You want both? We'll do a Corey Feldman Haim, a Haim man.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Feldhaim, right? Where they just merge the two. You get the both Corys, and I don't know. This is really moving off into Nightmare Fuel Land. So,
Yep.
that gets this thing made. But like I watch it, and as I'm watching the movie, I can't help but think that there are things that the Duffer Brothers did that I think make that story idea of kids being terrorized by monsters set in the 80s. I think they did it smarter in some areas. Specifically, just it's not one monster in Stranger Things. It's the Zelda Dark World, right?
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
like which there's a lot of weird monsters in there. It's an alternate. It's a parallel reality, right? And I just felt like that was much better than one thing terrorizing people. I would say too that it's weird. So in the book, as I understand it, the kids were initially afraid of like movie monsters, like the Frankenstein
So
monster.
that's what Stephen King, when you watch interviews with him, that's what he wanted to put in because originally the book was set in the '60s.
Yep.
They brought it to the '80s, but he put in the monsters that he was scared of when he was a kid, which was all the Universal movie monsters. Because in the '60s, that's what you had. You had Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, the Mummy, stuff like that, and that's originally what the kids were scared of
Right.
in the book. In the book, so they had to
And
kind
they
of
already
shift
made
forward.
and they already made an 80s kids movies where they fight the monsters. It's called Monster Squad. So
Yeah, I downloaded it and I was gonna watch it tonight, but I watched something else instead. But yeah,
but I can't help but think that, this is a movie set in 89. These kids would have lived at fucking Video Library,
oh yeah,
which was the precursor to Blockbuster. And so, like, I know they did licensing is a motherfucker, but
they got some new line stuff because they
adjacent
had
a
the pictures
Freddy,
of Freddy. Yeah,
a Mike Myers, a Xenomorph, or a Predator, or a Gremlins. Like, it should have been more pop culture movie based or inspired by type monsters, right? Like parody. Just because,
I mean possibly like the fact that they had to move it forward. I don't know. Depending on who was running the show, it feels like they were like, we're gonna move it from the '60s, from 1960 to 1988, and that's already 28 years right
89.
there. 80. Well, it
89.
starts in '88,
No,
and then
it isn't
everything happens in
89. No,
'89.
no, because Batman's in the theaters, dog. That's 89.
Yeah, but Freddy's in
Oh,
the
that's
theater.
right. Starts in 88 and then says
It
1 year
starts in
later.
'88,
Yeah,
it
my
ends in
bad.
'89. Yeah,
My bad.
exactly. So like,
I got me.
and they did a little bit to show like they had Freddy movie posters
Okay,
up
look,
at the
yeah,
cinema.
okay. What you're talking about is that the pop culture references are in the background. They walk by a movie theater, you
Yeah,
see Batman
yeah,
on the
they're it's
headlines.
very not it's not much.
This is a weakness for me because as I understand it too, in the movie, there's the fat. I don't remember any of their names, but there's the fat kid who's into library stuff, and then there's the
Mhm.
black kid who uh,
Michael.
has Michael has the he works at a slaughterhouse, right?
Yeah,
And in the books, the Michael, that character, he is the person who goes to the library, gets all the information on the town and stuff. Like he's
yeah, they transferred it to the fat kid.
see, I think like they should have just kept him, Michael, as that person who's in the library, and the fat kid should be pop culture. Like if you have a bunch of fucking monsters, you know what I
Well,
mean?
I
Like
mean they
he
gave you a
should have
little bit
had
of pop culture with New
no,
Kids
no,
on the
no,
Block.
no, no, that isn't it. Look, were you alive in the 80s?
Yes, I was born in '81.
Okay, well, I mean, like, so we're roughly they say he should have been that kid that had all those VHS tapes,
Yeah,
the
he
with
should have.
the
They kind of
Maxwells,
wasted his character.
the Maxwells that have like four different movies. He's constantly burning copies of films. He has all the Freddy movies. He's like, I think we can defeat it this way, and I know it's like a
Yeah.
monster. And he's got all the movie posters. Like
Mhm.
his dad could have owned the town video store. Like the pop culture guru kid. And
Yeah.
then like there were just more opportunities for that. It didn't
I
take away
don't
from
know
the
why they
film.
stayed away from it though. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I don't know. I think too. The only thing in the movie that I was like bullshit. I call bullshit on. Like, and I was in the theater going, "That's bullshit." Is the first time the kids go to the house, they didn't bring one fucking weapon. And those kids, if they exist in our reality in 1988, 89, They would have known with all the kids' movies, always make your weapons. You know, you're getting a broom
Yeah.
hand, you're bringing the shovel, the hoe, the pickaxe. Like there's that one scene when they come the second time, and the nerdy
Mm.
kid takes a bottle and tries to break it, and it doesn't work, right? It
Yeah,
shatters.
yeah, yeah.
Like that. At least try that. I think that joke would have played better the first time. Or maybe they get
Yeah.
there like, shit, we don't have weapons, and some of them leave, and it splits them up, and that would have caused a problem for them, which it did. So there was just little things where I'm like, you
It
know,
could have been more 80s or it
could have
could have
been
been more kids
80s
or
and
both.
80s kids, man. Like it's, I
80s
grew up in
kids.
that. I grew up in like, man, that people can't understand. Like 80s kids films in the 80s were the
Yeah.
shit in the 80s. Like we look,
Yeah.
a lot of people look back fondly now and go, oh, this is a big deal, and those were fun. They don't. Everything we learned from movies. We didn't have the internet and shit, so you learned it from a movie. You're like, I saw in a movie they melted shit down and they melt down my mom's silverware into bullets, and now I can shoot. Like you learn everything from movie. I
Yeah.
learned how to do.
Exactly.
At least I thought I did. I learned how to do karate by watching The Karate Kid, right? And I tried that kung fu, the crane kick, and got my ass kicked. So I learned, very quickly that there's a difference between.
Well, that makes me think. Like, now I wonder why, with the ability, knowing all of that, why kind of shy away from it? Because they absolutely did. They had massive amounts of
One of them could have brought a Batman
ability.
mask, like I'm gonna shield myself. I'm gonna,
Yeah,
it's a Warner
yeah. I
Brothers
mean, really
film.
anything.
It's New
But
Line.
they.
They could have brought the turtles or something.
So
That was
yeah,
a
I'm
year away.
curious as to why the filmmakers. Well, it's still only half of the movie. This is only the
I
kids
don't. I
part.
don't care that they split the thing in half, and then when they'll do that when they're adults in another film. I get all that. I'm just talking about for the basis of making a kids 80s film. Like there's a scene they break up in the film, right? And they're not friends for a while. And then you see at the movie theater Nightmare on Elm Street 5: The Dream Warrior.
Yeah.
Which, if you've ever seen that, that's where this female character decides to take the fucking fight to Freddy,
Mm.
right? The Dream Master. Was it Dream Warrior or Dream Master? I get the two confused. 4 or 5. Which one they do that? So, I believe it was 5. Um, and I just felt like that could have been the thing that got them together. Like they could have
Hmm.
said, "Let's get together and watch a movie," and they see this, and then all the kids team up. They should have put the Dream Warriors in that fucking film, but them seeing a movie that inspires them to then
To
team
then
up,
go and do it. Yeah.
would have made more sense than just one day
Hmm.
they just decide to do it. Because end of the montage.
Well, it was very, very Bill heavy though. Like Bill was the one that was pushing all of them to do it, because Stan literally hates him afterwards. Doesn't ever want to
Yeah,
go and
that
do
was
it.
the thing, man. Like I felt like the one thing this movie really could have done to differentiate itself from maybe the typical kids films would have been to make Beverly the main character. Like she's not at
Hmm.
first, but instead of Beverly being the character that gets captured and they gotta go save her, what if
Hmm.
it was is it Bill the brother of Georgie?
Bill's, yeah, the older brother of Georgie that
If they
stutters.
if
That's
Georgie had
Bill.
come and captured his brother and then they were like, we gotta go it got one out, it's got Bill, like she could have would have been great to see her take the reins in that instance, because to me she has the most
Yeah.
compelling character arc in the film. She's going through
Yeah, and they make her a very, compelling character.
she's got to deal with real monsters at home, her own body,
Oh
which is going through
God.
changes and is almost horrific. Which brings me to my I call it a gag. It's not a gag, but that's what they used to call them. And I grew up watching the Freddy movies, so if you know anything about the Nightmare on Elm Street films, each one provided a series of gags, which was these little sequences that would take place in Dreamland that would kill off a main character.
Hmm.
Sometimes they were horrific. I go back to the first Nightmare on Elm Street where Johnny Depp gets sucked into a waterbed and then spat back up into the fucking ceiling, which kept me from ever going on a waterbed for 3 or 4 years.
That
When I
was
was
that was like 500 gallons of fake blood.
yeah, it really freaked me the fuck out when I was a kid. And then they go to humorous where there's one. Was it in Dream Warriors Part 3 where this chick has a phobia of roaches, and so Freddy traps her in a roach
Traps
motel.
her in the Roach Motel and squishes it, and you get to see
Yeah.
it all ooze out. Yeah. And
Yes.
she also grows the roach arms out of her own elbows and kneecaps.
That was less funny, but it was mostly somewhat humorous.
But yeah,
There was a lot of those in the '80s where they would get their face stuck on something, it would peel off
oh
half
god,
their
yeah.
face, right? Like there was they loved that gag in the '80s. So I felt this movie had a few of those. The one I felt was the most compelling was the sink one with Beverly, where all the blood comes out the sink and the hair that she chopped off, which the blood representing her going through bodily changes, plus the hair that she had cut off in retaliation
Mm.
to her
From her
father's,
dad, which is they loosely allude to abuse.
yeah, sexual
Like
abuse. Yeah,
they
creepy.
very very loosely do it because at the end, he's like, "That's why you couldn't get her because she wasn't scared of you," and I was like, "Yeah, bro, that's it. She wasn't scared."
So I just think, like, given those circumstances, she would have been a more compelling. Like, she ends up being the protagonist. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
the main.
in the book, she is the one the first time around that actually defeats Pennywise with a wrist rocket and a silver earring.
It's very
But
NES, right? When you say that, I keep thinking, is that something you do in Maniac Mansion? Like, I need the
no,
wrist rocket, the hamster,
uh-huh.
and the silver ring, and then I go out and I defeat Nurse Edna.
Yeah,
You know,
that's they took all of that out, and because they even changed it for the 1990 miniseries. It was still her, but it wasn't earring anymore. So yeah, I don't know.
but it does a
Like,
lot right. I mean, it gets the tone right.
oh yeah,
The
it gets
acting,
everything right.
the acting's on point. You know, it rides a good line between being humorous and scary, which if you've ever saw Nightmare on Elm Street, always did a good job of playing both very well. You know, even some of the lesser Freddy ones, you know, even like Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which is not a very good movie, when Freddy shows up, can get frightening and funny. You know, like so.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was the whole idea, though.
yeah,
That's
so
what made it awesome.
I enjoyed the film overall, but I do believe that, and plus it has a time limit, so it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 2:20 something.
I think it's
It's a
God,
little
I think
while.
it's like it's a little over two.
It's a little over 2 hours, and obviously in the Stranger Things you get like 8 hours, 8 or 10 hours.
Oh yeah, way more. 1 hour. I'm sorry, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was long. So uh,
It
I,
went by fast though, man. For me.
not exactly for me. I appreciated that it wasn't over after the first house encounter. You know, I was like, oh, they're gonna just end it here. You know, because it didn't feel like,
Mm.
you know, the story ends and then later on it'll pick up. You know, when they're older, which is like half a book, but it doesn't feel like it's half a movie. It still
No,
feels
it
like a
did.
complete movie.
Yeah.
I would say that the only other thing, like I said, two things I think are an issue with the film. One, the kids don't take weapons the first time they go and fight Pennywise.
No,
Two,
they just go into the house like idiots.
two, the other thing that bugged me was there's this. So Pennywise has this lair in the sewer, right? And his little fortress is made up of all the items and toys that he's stolen from when he kidnaps children. It's whatever they have on them is stockpiled up. But all the kids are floating up above,
Hmm.
like in a psychic spider web, basically up in the air.
Yep.
And then when they defeat him, they float down to the ground. But there's never that moment where they either say, "Are all those kids dead?" Or is it that
Yeah.
Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, you know, when he comes out with the kids and they flood the town? Like, there's never any resolution to that, right? Like,
No, there's absolutely none.
they,
He crawls down and evaporates, and then all the kids float down, and you get nothing.
yeah, and so that's where I'm like, you have to say at least maybe they could have been at a funeral right before they did the holding hands with the blood thing, you know, or like there's all these funerals going on or a mass vigil. I don't
The
know, something.
sharpest piece of broken glass I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, they could. You know what would have been funny is if they had gotten like the Ginsu knife.
Yeah,
And if you know
yeah,
anything about the
like,
'80s, the
like an
Ginsu,
old '80s Ginsu knife. Like,
yeah, a Ginsu
hey,
knife was
my
like
mom said I can cut cans in half with this.
it was like the original ShamWow, right?
Yeah.
In the '80s, where they had these infomercials that would show you what a Ginsu knife could cut through, and it really didn't cut any more than any other knife, but
No, it was just a serrated knife.
right. Or they could
You
have
put
had
enough
like a
force in.
ninja star or a batarang or I don't know something.
Yeah,
So
no, it's just like a half-assed piece of broken glass that would not cut you the way they were cutting each other.
right, yeah.
But so when they're adults though, and they defeat Pennywise, they also retrieve people that have seen the deadlights because they didn't mention that in this
Are
one.
those things the thing that's in his throat? Those
Yeah,
little
they're called the
Dragon Balls, the
deadlights.
Dragon
Yeah,
Balls that are
they're
floating
called the
around.
deadlights, and when Bev saw the deadlights, that's when her eyes went weird and she started floating because we all float down here, Sam. Um, so Bill in the book, Bill's wife Pennywise gets her with the deadlights and has her floating, and he gets her back after they defeat him, and but she's comatose. So he ends up getting on that bike that you saw so much of in the movie and like riding down a street really fast, and that's what wakes her up. So
Yeah, they'll have to change that.
you're
So
gonna you're probably gonna get more of an explanation of what happens to people after they've seen the deadlights and float in the next movie, but they definitely give you absolutely
they're gonna have
nothing in
to
this.
improve
Oh,
upon what.
they will. I don't think they're gonna be as cheesy. Being like,
It's
come
not
on, sweetie,
cheesy.
wake up.
It's booky, right? There's things that work in a book,
Yeah,
like when you read Lord of the Rings and they describe Sauron's power over people. That works. When you try to just shoot that,
yeah.
like it doesn't translate as well. So they have to then create like the mouth of Sauron and things like that to kind of like
Yeah, which didn't exist in the book, and
right that visually sort of encapsulates those things. So, and book fans can get their fucking panties in a bunch about it, but the fact is like it just doesn't work in a movie. When you
yeah,
describe, it's like sometimes they try booky things in films and we laugh at it. Like in Revenge of the Sith when she just lost the will to live. You're like, like I guess in a book when you read that it might play better, but certainly doesn't play
hmm
very good in a movie. That being said, I think it's a solid. I'd say it's a solid B plus.
Oh, absolutely,
Out of a score of
absolutely.
64 Van Dams, I'd give it a solid, 58. Say 58, 59 Van Dams. Doesn't get into the 60 because I just feel the kids really should have brought weapons the first time. I
No,
really do.
I would
Like,
agree. I would give it a lower score because they had the potential of making a few more like '80s kids movies references, like
or the
bringing
kids
weapons the first
having
time,
what I'm trying to.
or the kids doing it themselves.
Yeah, I don't want the directors like referencing things like I need more member berries. I'm saying these kids in that era would be learning how to fight
Yeah,
monsters from outer space or from hell through movies.
yeah, through the movies.
Comic books maybe, but mostly through movies.
hmm
So the fact that they never do is just like I'm like I don't know, guys. Like I just don't know if that exactly is what the direction I would. Seems like a missed opportunity. Maybe even video games like playing Ghosts and Goblins and shit. Or
Yeah.
Castlevania or
No, I would absolutely agree that that was a missed opportunity. Maybe there's a why, maybe there's not. We're not going to find out. I don't even know when
it's a
they're even trying to release the next movie.
2019 they said is the tentative date, but they're just working on the script. But it's a fun movie, man. You can go to the theater and have a good fucking time. Like it's
Oh yeah,
it's a good
I'm
time.
probably going to go see it again, just to actually go to like a better theater because the theater we went to the one in downtown Seattle, which was a big theater, but the sound was garbage.
Mm.
So it was kind of tough. Like I wanted to like go to like IMAX or something like that and just like be close and have it be loud and you know one of the bad things I felt super bad for this, but like one row down and three seats over there was one of those people that got like coaxed into going to a scary movie but doesn't like scary movies, right? So they
Right.
were like sitting there with their jacket in front of their face the whole time. And then anytime a loud noise or a jump scare would happen, you'd get that like scream.
Like the
So it happened.
Wilhelm, right? Or the Jamie Lee Curtis scream, right? Right.
But yeah, it's like they would scream because they'd get freaked out. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was after like the first like 2 times, I knew it was coming because I'm a fan of horror movies, and they would pop off, and then I would just start laughing. And then people around me would start laughing because they heard the person scream, and they heard me laugh at their scream, and like it just. So I had to actually like censor myself and like not laugh at this person.
Well, this happens to me. Like I went with my cousin, who the last time we hung out was in San Diego. She came down for Halloween and wanted to
Mhm.
go to Knott's Scary Farm with her daughter, and she wanted me to go with because I hadn't been to Knott's Berry Farm in a long time. I'm like, all right, I'll go. And haunted houses just make me laugh, man. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm not a scared dude. Like, I let someone go and I go, haha.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
my reaction to. I think it's legitimately funny, you know.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did.
And so when she was all scared in this, you know, I'm like, ha. But people sometimes think you're being a dick. Like I'm not. Ah, well,
I'm
fuck
not.
it. I guess I'm a
It's just
dick.
funny
Like,
for us.
yeah, just the way I did find people who were screaming like at the Not Scary Farm when I would laugh. Eventually, they would start laughing, you know, which I
Mm.
think takes away from the people that work there, you know, like stop laughing, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Fuck,
you're
come on,
ruining it.
guys.
I'm here to scare
It's an
you,
illusion.
and I'm like, yeah, you know, like I'll tell you what'll scare me, man, like VR. You know, like when you play Alien Isolation in VR, that you're not gonna laugh. I don't know what
What
it
is
is.
there's
Maybe when you see a life size.
Horde Z on in VR.
Yeah, then I
'Cause-
don't laugh. I don't know why, man. Like,
yeah, no, it's not funny because you're
yeah,
going in Horde Z. You're going down a hallway, but you can only look one of two ways.
I would love
So,
a version of Pennywise. It doesn't have to be this story, but just call it Pennywise or whatever in VR, right? Where you got to go in the
oh
sewers. You know,
fuck,
you can even give like a. Wouldn't it be
all
great?
of that.
Imagine if it was procedurally generated, so you can then just give a list of your fears, or it can look at your Facebook profile and find out the things you hate, and then just map your friends' heads to monsters and shit like that.
You better poor man copyright that shit right now because someone's
Yeah,
gonna make it.
yeah. All
Someone's
right.
abs. Oh God, can you?
Yeah.
Ugh,
You know, it could just take a snapshot of all your social media thing and then invent a bunch of fucking nightmare fuel for you. You know,
dude, that's totally doable. That is 100% doable.
I can't do it. So, you know,
I
if someone
know, but I'm
makes
just
it, make
saying,
it, I'll
like,
play it.
oh,
So,
why
like I
would you want
said,
to?
a solid 59 out of 64 Van Dams for me, folks. That's pretty high up there. And
I'll give it the 58.
oh, one step lower,
One little bit lower.
but definitely worth seeing. Definitely worth
Oh,
seeing.
absolutely.
I
Because it's only what $13 for a movie now.
well around here on Tuesdays you got $5 days. So
I know that's because you got badass stuff. Yes, I went and paid for it. I went and saw it. It is 10 times as much. I'm probably gonna go see it again at least once or
I
twice.
paid full price though. This time I paid
Yeah, I
full
paid
price.
full price.
So, you know, I got to support when they're willing to make an R-rated horror movie where kids get murdered. Like, I
Oh
just
yeah,
in
and
this
that
timid society, you know, like I need them to be able to take risks. So, and they were
yeah
rewarded, man. They're up like
yeah
they've been killing.
they
They made a
show it
hundred.
too.
They made 123 million over the weekend. But
Yep.
I've been looking at Box Office Mojo, and they were like making like eight. They made 11 million on Tuesday.
Oh
So the
no, they made less money on Monday and then made more money on Tuesday.
however that works out, man, that's
I don't
crazy.
even know how that works out, but it was like down 31%, up 31%. Like basically everybody who went and saw it not on the weekend was like, "Oh, this shit's good," and then all their friends who didn't see it on the weekend went and saw it on Tuesday.
I
So yeah,
like Stranger Things more, but I'm looking forward to more of it. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Can I
yeah.
say that without getting
No,
too
no,
much?
that's completely fair.
I'm gonna end up with some fuck you and your fucking opinion, you know.
No, that's fair. They only have the two movies that they can do. I wish they would have done it as like a Netflix original
Well,
and
we
have
already
more.
have Stranger Things though, so you know.
I know exactly. You already have Stranger Things, so
I'm
they
interested to see who they cast as the kids. We could wrap on that, right? Like, who do you think they should cast as some of these kids, the adult versions? I mean, if I could pick a stand-in for Bev, it would be Amy Adams, given the Lois Lane reference too. Maybe the bigger
I
kid,
could
the fat
definitely
kid said
see Amen.
the fat kid said he'd like to see Chris Pratt play him. You know,
Well, the fat kid does get skinny and becomes a famous architect when he's older.
Chris
So
Pratt minus the
that Chris
architect.
Pratt would be perfect for him. Bill, I don't know. I mean, Bill's just Bill.
They could get Milo Vena something or other, right? That guy from Rocky and Heroes. This is us.
There you go.
They get Dane DeHaan. I don't know, man. You know, there's just, I mean, you could get John Boyega, right, as Mike, right? Make him British. I don't know.
No, for Mike, you'd have to do shit.
Tyrese.
No.
Tyrese.
No.
Kevin Hart.
Oh God, no. No. Why am I fucking Iron Man? War Machine.
Rodney Downey Jr. He had played a black man before.
No.
He won an Oscar for that.
No,
Robert Downey Jr. reprises.
Don Cheadle. He'd be
No,
a good librarian.
no. Don Cheadle. I'm better off with Terrence Howard, but don't look a thing like him.
They'll cast it, man. It's gonna be something. That's for sure.
So I'm looking forward to seeing who they get. Because I mean, now that it made a lot of money, you know they're going to be able to get some bigger names. Right.
This thing's gonna make a lot of money.
Who's the guy playing Black Panther? They could get him. It's not Chiwetel.
Oh yeah. To play librarian. Yeah.
Bozeman, Chad. Man, I'm fucking horrible with actors' names these days, man. Like, seriously. Ever since they started using their real names and not giving themselves easy fake ones to remember.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I'm glad people can use their real names now, but I gotta tell you, it's really hard to memorize.
The only thing I hope they don't do for Richie, the comic relief kid, is get some like standard.
They should get modern Corey Feldman.
Dude, they should absolutely have today's Corey Feldman as Richie.
Yeah. That's what I would do, man.
I would lose my fucking mind if they did that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, right?
And everybody and their mom, and then he could sing songs for the soundtrack afterwards.
I would say cast more kids from the 80s, but not a lot of them made it.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Sean Astin, but he's kind of, I mean, maybe. Not a lot of them made it, you know? It's sad to say.
Well, you do Sean Astin, Corey Feldman.
They could act, I don't think Molly Ringwald's acting anymore, though, is she? I haven't seen her in anything in a long time. She might be retired.
Molly Ringwald is Bev, especially with the joke.
The joke.
Who the fuck brought Molly Ringwald? Fuck you.
Yeah, then they actually get Molly. They wouldn't have gotten that. That'd be the most meta joke since Ocean's 12.
Dude. Oh, I would lose my dude. Molly Ringwald is Bev.
Remember when they got Julia Roberts to pretend to be Julia Roberts in Ocean's 12? That was fucking weird, man. Like I was like, so she's not Julia Roberts, but she is Julia Roberts, and she's gonna pretend to be. It's a fucking weird movie, man. You never saw the Ocean's 11 series veering off into that territory, but anyhow, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. Mike, anywhere people can bug you on the net? Anywhere you hang out?
Just DeviantArt, begoodfinger.deviantart.com.
And I do believe your info is below in the info box. So
it is definitely in the doobly-doo.
All right. Get Swifty in here. Right. So, take a shit on the floor. All right, everybody. So we're gonna get out of here. I'll talk to you very soon. Peace, everybody. Go see it. It's fun.
Go see it.